Hey everybody, and welcome to a Tatter-a-fact here at the Girlz Inc. studio in Las Vegas. And I'm back with Olivia and Willow. How you girls doing?
Pretty good.
Pretty good,
Yeah. Did you miss me last week?
I did.
You lie. You lie. It's probably like all employees, right? When the boss is gone, they're like, yeah.
I mean, we got to catch up a lot, so that was pretty nice.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So what does that mean exactly? You got to catch up with a lot. Like when I'm here, like, 'cause I'm always vomiting like new stuff for you to do.
Yeah.
And I wake up because I wake up at 4 a.m, and I have to go pee and I think of stuff. I come in and I just vomit it to you girls. Hey, let's do this and this. Hey, I got an idea. All right. So you got a lot done.
Yeah.
So I should leave more often. I should go on vacation more often. I think maybe that's what you're saying.
I mean, I'm sure you enjoy your vacations.
I did. We did. So my vacation was, it was our second annual quad trip. So, four-wheelers. When I was growing up, we called them four-wheelers. Actually, there were three-wheelers. And then I think those were a little too dangerous because they tipped a little bit too easy. So they put a fourth wheel on there, and then, we called them four-wheelers, but now they're quads. They're called quads. So, yeah. So, back in 2020, when, COVID hit, some people took up cooking. We were all stuck in our homes for quite a while, some longer than others. And, a lot of people took up cooking. Some people took up, puzzles, arts and crafts. They found hobbies, things like that. Making bread, making ice cream became, a thing. And Kat and I, we took up quadding. We had two friends that quadded a lot, and they always spoke so highly of it and like, you should go. So finally, when everything, kind of shut down and we were stuck in our homes, the one safe place to go was out in the woods on your quad, right? You're around nobody. So we went quadding, and the very first day, I mean, we just both really took to it. I had a feeling I would, because I'm kind of athletic. I'm a little bit, I wouldn't say an adrenaline junkie, but I like speed. I like challenging stuff. I like physical stuff. So I had a feeling I was going to like it, but I wasn't sure about Kat. She ended up loving it. So we bought a couple of quads, and we've been quadding ever since. So there's about 10 of us girls that go, and this is our second trip. And we go to Utah, and we have like these, cases on the back of the quads, and you pack what you can fit on your quad, and that's it. So, we go to Utah, and so we'll drive into like Beaver, Utah, and stay there that night. We get up the next morning and we drive like 60, 70 miles up in the Paiute trails, like deep, like high in the mountains, and to the next town. The next town happened to be, I think it was Circleville. And, you come out of the trails off the mountain, and you're in a new town, and, you're dirty, you're dusty, you're wet. We got caught in a storm, on our first day. And you're staying in these little roadside, little hotels, which, are not the nicest. I think usually hunters stay at these hotels. A lot of hunting up in those areas, and then you get up and you hit the Paiute trails, for another 60, 70 miles until the next town. And so it was a 5-day trip. We did five towns, and it's absolutely fantastic. I think the reason I love it so much is you really have to be present. You have to be in the moment and present, because quadding, it is dangerous. It can be dangerous. You're on some trails with, some steep, mountains, going up, going down, some rocks, some canyons. I mean, there's some things, man. And so you go over streams and rivers. So you have to know what you're doing, and you have to be like hyper alert. Can't have spaghetti arms, is what we call it. You got to have a good grip on your quad, and you just got to have good skills. And like I said, be super present, because the minute you start daydreaming or thoughts, your thoughts, start to wander, that's when you can get hurt. So So I think that's why I took to it so quickly, and now I'm obsessed with it because it's one of the only things that keep me present and keep me in the moment. I know I've talked a lot about like my anxiety and my racing thoughts, and it's probably my racing thoughts that are my biggest issue, cause me the most problems, and that's probably what leads to like anxiety is the racing thoughts. So I'm a manic thinker, racing thoughts. And, some thoughts are good, some thoughts, are not so good. And so I've had to, develop skills, I call them, like, and, to manage the thoughts and control them because they don't go away. You can't wish them away. There's really no medicine that takes them away. So you just have to manage them. And I found things, that I call like disruptors, like reels. We talked about that, I think, on a podcast. Like reels can be a disruptor for me. It's because you're in the moment. I'm with you girls. We're laughing. Sometimes we laugh so hard. Didn't we just do a reel? We laughed so hard, like I almost peed. I told you, Olivia, I'm going to pee. I think I'm dribbling. I think it's running down my... What friggin' reel was that we did? We were laughing so hard. God, it was ridiculous. I was laughing so hard. But yeah, reels are a disruptor. Roller skating's a disruptor for me. Dancing, and quadding. So anyway, had a great quad trip. We all made it home safely, and so it's fun. So I can't wait till next year. So speaking of racing thoughts, let's talk about our next thing. We've had a couple of questions about my gummies on a prior podcast. I talked about my racing thoughts, which keep me up at night, and really, oh man, they can really mess with me, and they can cause me like sleepless nights. And after 2 or 3 days, of not sleeping, then that can turn into like a migraine for me and a whole set of issues. So gummies, I've been looking for like really good gummies and experiencing with gummies. And I think I shared the story, like my first gummy, for sleep time. I slept too late. I mean, I had to be here at a client in the morning, and I didn't get up because the gummy worked that well. It like knocked me out to the point where I must have turned my alarm off and didn't even realize it. And I slept late. But, so people were asking me about how my gummy, experiments going, and did I settle on a brand and things like that. So I've tried 3 or 4 different gummies, and I have settled somewhat on a brand. I think I'm a hard case. I really do. I think I'm a hard case. You take gummies, Olivia.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's public knowledge. Well, we talk about it, right? I think a lot of people suffer from sleep. They can't fall asleep. And I think there's 3 things you can do, right? You can suffer. You can take prescription medication, which I chose not to take. I didn't want to get into, some people do, and that's totally fine for them. I didn't want to do prescription meds. I wanted to find something a little bit more natural. And the gummies are made with CBD, some hemp, some THC. Some of them are a combination of all 3. The one that I have is a combination, I believe, of all 3. It's CBD. It's 50 milligrams of CBD. It's got 5 milligrams of THC, and it's got 3 milligrams of melatonin. So it's called Lights Out by Vena, VENA, Lights Out. And it's worked pretty good for me. The problem I'm having with it is it makes me you take it about a half hour before you fall asleep. I personally don't want to feel euphoric or the effects of THC. And so take it a half hour before you go to bed, and you're not going to feel those effects. I think some people are afraid to take gummies that have THC because, they don't smoke weed. and they don't want to feel euphoric, or they're afraid they're going to feel paranoid or something like that. But I find, and you and I have talked about this, Olivia, you too. You don't smoke pot. You don't necessarily want to feel the effects of THC, so you take yours before bedtime, and you don't feel that euphoric.
It's just like a specific balance too. You have to find the right gummy.
Yeah, you definitely have to find your right balance.
Yeah.
Your right balance. And so I like the 5 milligrams of THC. It makes me fall asleep, but I'm waking up at 4 a.m., between 3 and 4. So it's not keeping me asleep. So I had a really good friend who also, here in Vegas, who also really struggles with sleep a lot. And she's got someone in town that's making her some gummies with, I think she said it was 10 milligrams of THC. And there's melatonin in it as well, and there's some hemp. And so I'm going to try some of those. I haven't tried them yet, but I'm going to try them, and I'm going to see if that actually, keeps me asleep all night long. The other thing I could do is that when I wake up at 3 or 4, take another gummy, right, and see if that makes me fall back asleep. But I certainly don't want to wake up groggy.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe it's gonna make you groggy
Yeah,
or make
and I
you
don't want-
oversleep.
Yeah, so I don't want to, so those are my two things. Is I don't want to feel high per se. That's just me, and I don't want to wake up the next morning feeling groggy. So, so it's the search is still on, but I think that now Lights Out was too strong for Kat. So she has another brand, and it's 2.5 grams of THC. And that works fantastic for her. She tried mine, and she was like, I think she slept till 10 a.m. And she's up at like between 6 and 7 every morning, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, like ready to go. Like she doesn't wake up and go sit on the couch and have to, take a half hour before she can utter a word. Not that's me. I wake up and I'm like, oh, like I sit on the couch, turn on a little, news, and I need about 30 minutes to get the cobwebs out. And Kat just wakes up. She's ready to go exercise. She's like super happy and like all that stuff. So she took the Lights Out, and it was like, she got up at like 10, and she was shocked. And I got up before her that particular morning, and I let her sleep. And I walk upstairs, and I'm like, Kat, it's like 10 to 10. And she's like, what? She thought I was like lying. I'm like, no. So this formula was a little bit too much. But I do think it's the THC. I've been doing a lot of research, too, on CBD oils, for sleep, for migraines, for pain. And, my research and, talking to other people, I have a doctor that I've been able to talk to here in town about it. And from what I can gather and what I'm reading, I think the consensus is gummies, CBDs, whether you're taking it for sleep, migraines, pain, anxiety, a formula with THC is more effective rather than a straight CBD formula or a straight hemp formula without any THC added. So they're finding with the added THC, it is more effective and it's more beneficial. But like, as you said, Olivia, you're right. It's finding the right milligram of THC. For Kat, it's like 2 milligrams, that works really well for her. 2 milligrams didn't do nothing for me at all. The 5 milligrams now, like I said, it's putting me to sleep really beautifully. I'm falling right asleep, which I had a very hard time doing. So it's working fantastic for that. And I'm sleeping super solid until right about 4. So it's giving me, so that's about 4.5 hours. I take it at about 11:15, and I'm usually out by 11:30, 11:45. But I'm waking up at like right around 4, every single morning, and having a hard time falling back asleep. So, yeah. So that's my report on gummies. So, So obviously there's other people. We've gotten a lot of messages and DMs about, me and my search for the right gummy. And a lot of people, kind of opened up and talked about their experience with gummies and, how they struggle with sleep and how it can be so debilitating and, and suffering. I mean, when you just don't sleep, I feel it's like suffering. It's like you just really suffer. And it can be quite debilitating. So you have to find something that works for you. For me, meditation, I do all the normal stuff they tell you to do online, like your phone. Your phone shouldn't be near your bed or even in your bedroom because of the blue light and, whatever rays or light or, energy, comes off the phone is not good for you. That can affect your sleep. That can give you headaches. It's crazy. I mean, you're looking at your phone right now and you don't see anything radiating off your phone, but there is. So they tell you to keep your phone not even like away from your bed. I mean, my neurologist, because I get migraines, and I brought him in on my sleep issues. I started talking to my neurologist, who as I mentioned, I see for migraines. I brought him in on my conversations about sleep, and he had a lot to contribute and educate me on, and so he was like, get your phone out of your room. I mean, get it out of your room. And so I'm like, well, then how am I going to wake up in the morning? Because we're all using our phones for alarms, right? And he's like, well, Taryn, buy an old-fashioned alarm clock. So I did. I bought an alarm clock. One of those, we call it old-fashioned nowadays. You know what I mean? So I have an old-fashioned alarm clock because I don't wake up without an alarm clock. That's just me. Do you wake up without an alarm clock, Olivia?
I do. I have like a body.
You do?
What is that called? Like a body time?
Like a body alarm. Like
Yeah.
some people do. What about you, Willow?
I have a cat.
Yeah.
I haven't made it to my alarm in months.
Your cat. That's funny. How does your cat wake you up?
He will scream at the end of my bed until
He screams
I get up.
at you. Oh
Yeah.
my God.
And if I don't get up quick enough, he'll come up and like start patting my face.
So do you wake up happy or?
I usually wake up a little annoyed, but he's also so cute that like I can't help but love him.
So you only need to stay annoyed for a second, and then then you're like, oh, I love you, kitty. That's so funny. Well, okay, so I got an old-fashioned alarm clock, and of course there's other things. They say meditate. I can't meditate. My mind just goes a million. Are you kidding me? That's like the worst thing for someone like me. I just can't meditate. I've tried so many different techniques. It just doesn't work for me. So there's some common traditional things that they tell you to do to help you with your sleep, but none of them really work for me. So I had a I'm on a gummy search. But lights out is Kat researched this particular brand and bought it for me, and it works quite well. I'm sure it would work fantastic for a lot of people. Like I said, it works pretty good for me, but I'm gonna try a couple other different brands and see if I can find something that keeps me asleep for like a full 7. I do really well on 7 hours of sleep. That's kind of like my number, 7 or 8. But you know what they say? Nowadays they're saying like 8 hours of sleep is the most healthiest amount of hours for everything to, rejuvenate, like whatever your brain does when it's at rest, and your body and like your cells and all that stuff. They're actually saying 8 hours, and they're being a little bit more definitive. It used to be like 6 to 8, depending on the person. But now they're saying like 8. 8 hours is the amount of hours that's most beneficial, keeps the mind, the brain, the body at its healthiest and whatnot. So yeah, I'm shooting for 8, man. If they say 8, I'm gonna shoot for 8.